Welcome to the NAC Creators Intensive, aka the Super Duper Mega Retreat. Hi, my name is Nina Liakino, and I am the Artistic Director of English Theater at the National Arts Center and the Director of Rizal.
I think creativity is a sort of a juice that can give a lot of positive energy to teams, to individuals, to institutions, to whole communities. And we've seen through history how certain kinds of stories or songs can inspire people to really come together and achieve greater things.
Without it, you're recycling culture. You're seeing things that you've seen before, which is fine, you know, to an extent. We all love the familiarity of a story we know, a show we've seen before. There's a real place for that in our culture. But after a while, you run out of stories, and if you run out of stories, you run out of culture. Eventually, your culture will just atrophy. It'll stifle.
Artistic creation is so important because it's a moment for new stories and new dreams, new ways of being in the world, new ways of seeing ourselves as Canadian in relationship to the rest of the world.
This opportunity to play without consequence is so extraordinarily rare and wonderful, with all of these people, all these resources, all of these incredible singers. Yeah, it's just like, you know, instead of playing with a little toy piano, you're playing with a symphony orchestra. That's how it feels, the difference, right?
It's an adventure. We start with something either unknown or not known. You know, it's the blank canvas or the empty page, those sorts of images. But in a way, I think we begin with something even more powerful and more interesting than those. We begin with a space that is there to be filled, both with the storytellers and with the audience.
You know, audiences pay money to go watch a movie or a play, or they pay money to buy a book, and we owe them excellence, literary excellence, theatrical excellence. At the same time, to reach that level, an artist needs time. You know, if you want a play to be really powerful, you have to spend time on play development. And now they perform the final dance of the night. They open their hair, stick their tongues out. They assume the pose of the goddess Pahuchara Mata, and they chant, "Hum jo bole wahi hoga." Whatsoever we shall speak, it shall come true.
It affords you space to try new things. So we've just finished writing a kind of a new draft, rearranging scenes, and Sarah wrote a new song, and it gives you the luxury of trying something like that, which is really thrilling.
It's also a lot about collaboration, about meeting all these amazing new people and seeing them work. And the thing that I love most is like just kind of surrendering something to a group of really talented people, and then watching them use it as a springboard for their own creativity.
Musical theater is the most collaborative art form. So what is so wonderful about coming here and being able to have the time and the space to create is to have a team of collaborators all together in this gorgeous environment to just play and experiment and write and just everything that needs to be done to bring a musical to fruition which takes, Cameron McIntosh always said it takes 5 years from concept to hitting a stage. That's a long time.
My friend Florence and I getting ready to move. No more stalling, not when New York's the place to be.
It's very rare that projects get this kind of support, funding, resources coming from Nina's just like incredible brain, and with this generosity from the National Creation Fund and obviously Banff. They've made the impossible possible, and I think in many ways the invisible visible.
To be able to afford time and to be able to give space. We're in such need of that right now, especially when it comes to the continued development of Canadian theatre.
This is an extraordinary event, and I'm aware of this may be the one time that this happens. We'll see if, hopefully other things can come out of this. But what's so extraordinary about this is institutions coming together around creativity, and for me, a very strong thematic line to that is artists having a creative home.
I think it's more important now than ever that Canadians hear stories, not just stories about Canada and Canadian stories, but also stories that speak to universal themes through a Canadian perspective, which I think the world needs more of right now.
I think we kind of looked in the mirror and said, hey, we like who we are, and we want to preserve that. And so without creation, without our culture, without music and theater and dance, we're not protecting our culture. We're not furthering our own stories. Eventually, you're just telling either the same stories you've always told or other people's stories. Those are the things that we're going to be passing on.
A creative organization has to be taking risks. And I think the words that Nina Lee Aquino uses when she talks about this is following her dreams. And I think what's so audacious about the dream behind the workshop that we're doing in Banff this summer is that it is bigger and more important than is normally done. It's quite unique. And I think she had the audacity to dream this big. And I think when we think about creative risk, it's important that institutions that have resources, like the National Arts Centre, dig deep to take those risks so that artists from across the country can benefit.
I think for me, the fear is just making sure that it's enough, that what we're doing here and now is enough, that the core creators are getting what they need, not just the things that they have to do, the checklist, the scenes they have to relook at, the rewrites and whatever, but that making sure that they're nourished, both in the times that we're together in the room, but also in the off times, in the quiet. And I hope that this place, allows them the inspiration and the nourishment to get what they want out of the 14 days.
So I would just say to Canadians who help make this happen how valuable it is. And I would also say to any member of the public that I would encourage them to engage with Canadian Stories on stage and to just support their local performing arts institutions because they're more relevant than ever. They give you a lot of joy and they can inspire you in your life. And I hope that people make the performing arts part of their daily life.